Thanks, everyone. I'm going to present on behalf of the clinical trial matrix. I didn't put Jim Whitlock's name there because he's already on too many slides, but he's also been part of our discussions and very helpful to them. So in terms of the overall objectives for our theme, essentially we've broken these down to say we want to try and get some clinical trials going as quickly as possible so that we can use the new infrastructure that we're building and try and develop that alongside trials that are happening, knowing that it takes a while to get trials off the ground. So 1A is kind of get going with trials that are ready now, at the same time as building more capacity to do investigator-initiated trials down the line. As part of that, we then feel that we do need more of a national clinical trial infrastructure. We know that obviously we have C17 that does a lot of this already, but there are various aspects of the clinical trial central infrastructure, especially in terms of newly developed academic studies, that C17 can't do for us at the moment. And then the third part of our objectives, improving trial access for patients, both in terms of ensuring that it's easier for families to get to studies, and that's about helping with expenses and obviously a lot of overlap with the ACCESS theme 3, and then about making it easier to open trials closer to patients, which is about these kind of remote trial access models. In terms of our priorities, moving down onto the left-hand side here, we do think that building some improved, enhanced national trials infrastructure is going to be really important, and there's been a lot of discussion about how this is going to work, and I think we're kind of waiting for some more clarity about the relationships between ACCESS and existing organizations like C17 and MyCern, which I'll mention in a minute. We think it's absolutely critical to push for a national REB for pediatric oncology. We know that that's not going to be something we can do within our theme, but we think that that is critical overall for us to really push for that and to use CHR to help push for that. We think there is a role for a clinical trial incubator to provide more infrastructure and help to people wanting to develop clinical trials, to provide them with statistical support, developing their trial concepts, as well as on the flip side, improving the local capacity of sites to develop clinical trials and to actually open those trials and initiate them. And then, as I've already mentioned, we want to push these remote trials models, and we think there is an opportunity to explore closer collaboration with other networks. Especially, you may have heard that there's another big CHR grant going out to a pediatric rare diseases trials network at the moment. In terms of our individual projects, we have already moved to several projects through to support from the kind of central pot. One of those is for a CAR T-cell therapy network, this idea about trying to develop capacity and ability to do on-site manufacture of CAR Ts. So this is not a trial in and of itself, but it really sets the foundation for future academic trials in the CAR T-cell setting. We are offering support for a COG study for leukemia with MRD analysis, and we've also put support behind this new brain tumor study called MERV, which is going to be sponsored and run by C17, trying out some of that new central infrastructure. There are several other clinical trials with various acronyms that I won't go into the details of here that are in the works and that are under discussion about how they might use our new infrastructure and how they might fit into what we want to do through ACCESS and whether we can support those. And then we're looking at ways now of developing more support for clinicians that have concepts for clinical trials, but need more help with statistics or pharma access to develop those ideas forward. And then most recently, we're thinking of trying to set up more independent working groups, as you've just heard from Theme 1, to try and get more of this work move forward, to have a working group about remote access and how we can do that in practice, to work on this trial incubator idea and what can we put in place to support the development of trials, how can we ultimately try and improve the grants that we submit for trial ideas. This third issue, which is about central streamlining and improving the site experience, what could we do at the center that might make it easier for trials to open at individual sites? It's going to be hard, I think, for us to get on the ground in every individual site across Canada, but can we put in place some central infrastructure that helps that? And then finally, this question of can we put in place funding to support patients and families having to travel to different centers to access clinical trials, and that will be with Theme 3, and there's a pilot project being developed already called Step 1. So in terms of our impact, we really want to try and enhance the trial portfolio available for patients in Canada, both in terms of making it easier and more attractive for us to be opening academic and pharma studies in Canada, as well as developing our own studies. And as we've talked a lot about, we want more central resource, more central infrastructure to try and then support individual sites. In the long term, we think that will lead to further enhancement of our capacity to do things and more trials available for patients. I will leave it there and hand over to Theme 3.